Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the Cape Lead Podcast. This is Chachi once again with another episode of Leaders with Leaders. Here with me today, two amazing friends, phenomenal teammates, and just overall good dudes. The Command Chief, 7th Air Force, Chief Master Sergeant Phil Hudson, and the Command Chief, 51st Fighter Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Adam Vizi. Phil, Adam, welcome to the Cape Lead Podcast, guys.
Awesome to be here, brother.
Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
Kachi kapshira.
It's going to be like that.
Yeah. Where we go together. Mm-hmm. So, gentlemen, let's for our viewers and our listeners out there, let's give them a little bit about who you are as a person, as a leader, anything that comes to mind. Phil, we'll start with you.
How about we start with Adam?
Okay. I'm Adam Vizi. I woke up this morning feeling dangerous. That's why I'm wearing the Baker Mayfield jersey. I'm originally from Youngstown, Ohio. I've been in the Air Force for almost 25 years. I'm a TACP by trade, airman by profession, and the Command Chief of the 51st Fighter Wing by privilege. Assignments were Army forts all over the world, Fort Carson, Fort Drum, Camp Casey, and then I got an opportunity to go to be the Command Chief at Ellsworth Air Force Base, and then Colonel Betts hired me to come here to be the 51st Fighter Wing Command Chief, which is a privilege. I'm married, my wife Gina. She's the love of my life, and she's the best thing that ever happened to me. So I focus a lot of my time, off time, on developing my relationship with my wife. However, my leadership philosophy is threefold. Do your best, leave a place better than when you found it, and have fun.
Roger that. Wow. Nice, that. That was
amazing.
good. That was really good. Yeah.
Wow. Holy cow, man. Yeah, okay, so cool. Yeah, I'm Phil Hudson. I've been in the Air Force about 26 and a half years, so I'm going into my 27th year of service, 15th duty assignment. Moved around a lot. Got about 10 years over in Europe, and this is my fourth tour here on the peninsula. So it's good to be back over here serving in the Republic of Korea. Been married for 23 years. I'm not sure why she's still with me, but thank God she is.
Awesome.
Yeah, I am a little bit awesome, right? Ish. Have two daughters, one soon to be 21. She's a student at the University of Texas on a nursing program, and my youngest is soon to be 16. She's a 10th grader here at Osan High School. So leadership philosophy, I'm not as epic as this, but there's one thing that I kind of said last night when we were chatting is that, leadership is all about love of your fellow airmen. And, I think, growing up as a pastor's kid, I kind of watched leadership in action from the front pew. Didn't really appreciate that at the time. But now as a grown-ish man, I really appreciate, the sense of community and what a leader can, in a flat organization, what I would like to say a first among equals, is about showing love for your fellow airmen. And that manifests its way in a lot of different ways. And so I like to do that. I like to make myself available and approachable. And we can talk about that a little bit later as well, about how we get after that. But I'm just happy to be here with you, brother.
You bet. I'm happy to have you guys. And just being back here on Peninsula in South Korea. Phenomenal place, phenomenal people, great culture. We were at a formal event last night. We got to meet the South Korean Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. Yeah. So getting to talk with him and see his teammates was really great. But being back on Peninsula, getting to share in some of the wonderful treats that they have here.
Oh boy.
With soju. Cheers, everybody.
Yummy.
Ooh, here we go.
Leaders with leaders.
And it's blueberry.
Yeah.
Gosh, that is so good.
It's on.
Yeah.
All right.
Fill it up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Wish you were here.
Yeah, exactly.
You think KFC is still open?
I think we should take a second or two to realize, quite honestly, how privileged Phil must feel for being sandwiched by Cleveland Browns fans.
Hey, Sam, I have been sandwiched by TACPs before.
And you are right now.
And again, just building your awesomeness.
Right.
As far as that goes. And if we need to walk outside so you can count your lucky stars, let's go ahead and do that.
Folks, you have no earthly idea.
No.
But so I've been here in Korea for about a week. The guest of Chief Hudson to come over and be a guest speaker last night, which was really great. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit and just maybe some of the events. I do want to talk about Nick and Dan and do that stuff. But being here for a week, getting to share leadership, two great friends. Someone I met Adam the day I got out of basic training, And so we have the same career field and known each other these past 24, 25 years. Has been phenomenal. Phil and I started our command chiefing assignments together like a week apart at Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst when he was the command chief of the 621st Contingency Response Wing, and I was the command chief of the 305th Air Mobility Wing.
Can do
wing. Awesome. So Adam, that was really good about your leadership philosophy. I'd never heard it put that way, and being a command chief by privilege, I think is a phenomenal way to shape this. But I'm fairly certain I know what your answers are going to be. So for maybe all of our young Air Force listeners out there and our viewers, or perhaps just military viewers, when you joined the Air Force, did you ever think that you would be A, the chief in E9, and B, a command chief?
So I'll take the first stab at this. It was very humbling as we went back to Lackland Air Force Base. I want to say it was 2015, right as I pinned on Chief. I had Chief Master Sergeant on. We were at the enlisted development team at Lackland. I don't know if you remember when we did that, one of our EDTs or RTRBs down at Lackland. And I remember sitting, I was like, man, I need to go back to this chapel. Because as an airman basic, sitting in basic training, I was thinking to myself, I was like, holy shit, how awesome would it be if I were to be a Chief Master Sergeant someday? And as cheesy as it sounds, I looked at myself internally and said, I'm going to be a chief. I'm going to do it. And I went back and sat in that same chapel and I was like, I'm back and I'm a chief. So it was kind of full circle to where a lot of people will say, oh, I only had aspirations of wanting to be a Master Sergeant. I had aspirations to want to be a chief ever since day one. It was something that I wanted to do. I looked at what the best was. Not that chiefs are the best, but it's the top of your game, and that's what I wanted to aspire to be. I set goals for myself to try to set myself up. I talked to chiefs as I was growing up. I talked to Master Sergeants like, hey, how do I get to be like you? So as cheesy as it sounds, I remember sitting in basic training when I want to say it was either the chaplain or one of his NCOs that was saying, raise the hands. How many of you guys are going to be a chief? And I stuck my little paw up in the air. I was like, hey, me.
I was the guy doing this.
He's slumping.
I was probably sleeping.
And initially, I was like, wait. I was the only dude to put my hand up. So it was kind of cool to go back down there.
Nice.
As a Chief Master Sergeant, I was like, holy shit. My challenge to myself, I have actually fulfilled it.
Nice.
So it was
awesome.
cool.
What about the command chiefing aspect?
So I never thought that I would be a command chief, specifically coming from a career field like ours. That's so small. We only have X amount of chiefs in our career field. So seeing the chief master sergeants that were moving on and doing the command chief job, and guys like Marty Klukas and Kenny Lindsay, I was like, I'm not that caliber. I don't have that gusto or the ability to command and control a room, and because they were idols. I looked up to those guys. I still do.
Yep.
And as guys like you, Chachi, when you got to be a command chief, I was like, man, they got it right, because Chachi is...
It makes sense, right?
It did make sense.
Yeah.
Perfect sense. Like your attitude, how you care about people.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really going on a squirrel moment here, just like you do. But if I would have ever said that I would have the capability to be a command chief, I would say no, probably because a lot of the choices that I made in our career field, being a weapons officer, running weapons and tactics, standing up that course, doing stand-about job type stuff. And I figured that my job jar was really, really full, and that the career field deserved to get a little bit out of the job jar from me.
You bet.
I'm still paying it forward because I talk about TACPs all the time as a command chief. So I'm selling our story to senior leaders, to general officers, to know that our struggles and trials and tribulations as a career field. So that was a squirrel. I never thought that I would have been afforded the opportunity to be a command chief, but now that I am, I see that the privilege in it and the ability to serve and take care of everyone, and I love it.
Roger that.
Yeah.
Phil.
Yeah, so I was a 4-year enlistee, man. My intent was to get in, get out. My younger brother had came in the Air Force before me. His first duty assignment was down at the Wolf Pack. as a box kicking supply troop, man, working on the flight line, you know, ordering my cap for Vipers, right? So he came back on mid-tour. You know, I was just marking time, still at the house, mom and dad, you know, with a badass mullet, you know. And,
Was it curly?
Oh yeah, yeah. Gosh, man. I mean, just a gorgeous thing, man. But I digress. So, you know, yeah, I loved it, and you know, it was great. I was making pretty good money, and but no direction in life, you know. And he come back, he's like, hey, you know, I think about this Air Force thing. And I'm like, okay. Pretty free spirited guy, so I drive into Memphis to the MEP station with no recruiter. I'm like, hey, what up, man? What you got going on up here? Of course, that math sergeant sitting behind the desk was like, well, we got a live one here, man. So I signed up, and it was very quickly that I found myself at Lackland with a shaved head going at the chapel, going, what happened, you know? And but yeah, I didn't really, you know, I didn't really join the Air Force until after my first enlistment, and it was here at Osan, my second duty assignment, in the 51st Fighter Wing, Stampede, that I really realized that what we do, you know, for America abroad and for our host nation, and I re-enlisted here, oddly enough, in Mach 4. You know, wasn't planned, but you know, we exercise so much, you know, and you just take those opportunities, and yeah, it was really cool. But to be a chief, probably after I talked to my first chief ever, was actually my third assignment, and that guy took some time. Vietnam vet, you know, prior Army guy, infantry, spent some time with me, and actually cared, you know, for a senior airman, which was awesome. And so at that point, I was like, yeah, man, I want to be him, whatever it takes, right?
Sure.
And as far as command chief, no. You know, so I'm sitting as a squadron and group chief over in the AGAL at Ramstein, and you know, Eddie Morales, a legend in the TACP community, was my command chief, and Eddie's like, hey Phil, you're all right at some things, you know. But maybe you ought to, you know, look into being a command chief. Maybe we'll push you for that. And so I was excited, but like super scared at the same time, because what does that mean? You know, what does a command chief do? And Eddie's like, I don't know. I just look good doing it, you know. So and so yeah, you know, that and probably the current Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. I was telling somebody this story last night. You know, K. Wright was the 3rd Air Force Command Chief then, and he just had this active role in people's lives, you know. So and Eddie, you know, being the servant leader that he was, just kind of flattened it out. I was like, hey man, you can talk to who you want to, man. There's no chop change, there's no pecking order here with chiefs. And so he exposed me, Eddie, to a lot of guys, man, that could really help shape me. And so much love to you, Eddie, if you're listening out there, man. You really set me on the right path, and I really appreciate it. Because I was a brand new chief in his wing as a squadron guy. Then had a lot of faith in me to move me over to a group and give me some opportunity to, you know, lead peers down in the squadrons.
Sure.
And but yeah, it's been an awesome ride, man. I don't know if I'm still doing it right. Hey, but I look good doing it, right? So thanks for that example, Eddie.
You know, kind of along those lines, like, you know, for me, I never thought about being chief, and kind of, it's really embarrassing to say that I just kind of went through ranks. I always tried to be promotable.
Yeah.
I never wanted to make a rank, but I just wanted to make sure that I was doing the things that I needed to do to be promotable, to be recognized for a job well done. People can call that playing a game. I call it adulting, and that's it. Like, it's not about playing a game; it's about being an adult.
Yep.
Like, if my bosses put out, hey, this is what you need to do to find success, whether you're I'm gonna do those things if I want to find success.
Get after it.
And so I, you know, I wanted to make tech at 10. I wanted to retire as a master sergeant at 20.
That's a good career.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I was very satisfied.
Yeah, awesome.
So on tech at 10 and a half. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Like I'm very mad I didn't make that goal. So I'm like, all right, I can totally do this. Made master at 13 and a half. And I'm like, well, like only then did I ever think about E8 or E9.
Yep.
You know, and you know, kind of for me, I was, as a senior master sergeant, got assigned to PACAF to be the TACP PACAF functional manager, and was working for Chief Steve McDonald. He was the PACAF command chief. And so good experience with him. And then he left, like I made chief, had the time there, and then my first 6 months as a chief, Steve McDonald was there, then Buddy Hutchison came in.
Buddy.
And then had 6 months with Buddy, and so he kind of became my command chief mentor.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be a command chief, never really thought about it. Took no steps toward attaining that goal at all.
Right.
Until I had a conversation with Buddy, and I said, hey, what's this command chief gig about? You know, it was literally that thing, same thing. It's, you know, I'd been a chief for 10 months and ended up being on the command chief list.
Yeah.
And
You're
then
like,
boom,
what?
boom, all of a sudden I became a command chief. Showed up McGuire Dix Lakers 1 January 16, and
It blessed my heart.
right, you know. But like I always felt like I was living on borrowed time. Like I can't believe this is happening to me.
Right.
Like this is just amazing. And with Steve and Buddy, just you know, kind of thing like what does the command chief do? Help.
Yeah. That's right. Love them and help them, man.
You know, that's really all we had to do with it. And it's funny as far as like, you know, as far as when you joined versus when you enlisted. The thing that I say a lot is the transition from the Mayan hour.
Yeah.
When I was 18, I joined the Air Force. Somewhere around Tech Sergeant became my Air Force.
Yep.
And as a Chief Master Sergeant, I understood the importance of it being our Air Force and shaping our Air Force.
Yep. Well said.
You know, and so I've really enjoyed that. So you get to hear you guys talk about it. So how about this? So now that you are Chief Master Sergeants, the senior enlisted rank in the U.S. military, and then on top of that, you're a command chief, which in the Air Force is less than 200 positions, right? So you're in the top 200 positions of the top like 3,000 positions that can be in the Air Force. What do you know now that you wish you knew back then? In whatever, personally, professionally, whatever, just random something, advice for our viewers out there. What could that possibly be?
Whew.
You keep going at it. We're going to stick with you first, Phil.
All right. You like that?
Yeah,
That was a Chachi moment, wasn't it?
Got it. Shut it.
You know, there's just so much out there. You know, I think part of it is, you know, I think, so one part of this is, there is a mystique, right? When you're a young troop, and you look at the top ranks, you're like, wow, those folks are like, you know, otherworldly.
Sure.
You know? And so I avoided, you know, we were taught back then, just avoid rank, right? Particularly officers, right? So stay away from them. Bad stuff happens if you get in their little flight path.
Yeah.
You know, so
Don't make eye contact.
Don't make
Walk
eye
by in a
contact.
submissive
You know,
position.
you submissive, salute, you just keep moving out. You know, you do the minimum greeting and you just move out. Yeah, you know, there's something awesome about the Air Force. You know, is that, you know, there is a absolute rigid pecking order in a lot of other services, and for rightfully so, right? But in the Air Force, you know, for one, we don't have warrant officers. There's not that little what's that over here. I know that's controversial, maybe another topic for you at a later date. But, you know, part of it is that, you know, our enlisted corps and our officers are absolutely inextricably linked to each other just because of the nature of what we do as an Air Force. And so I avoided senior ranks for a long time, just because even when the chief that come talk to me as a senior airman, I was like, you know, God, man, I like what he's saying, but I don't know how to respond, you know. And so I think for me, if I'd have known then that the folks in the upper ranks, they needed to talk to me. Mm-hmm. And here we are avoiding them. And so we were kind of defeating the purpose, you know, unbeknownst to each other, that I'm trying to avoid him and he needs to get to know me in order to make better decisions as a senior leader. That's why I talk about flat organizations, you know, like super flat, to where, you know, the wing commander or the NAV commander or whomever, or the chief can come down and talk to the youngest airman that's in the unit. And it can be cool, man. I mean, it's just like, you know, we can talk. We're all grown-ass men and women, right?
You bet.
Well, most of us.
Most.
I mean, I don't know about the three of us, but we fake it, right? So
Little column A, little column B.
yeah, right. But we're in the grown person, you know, block, and so I enjoy that now, which is odd because I absolutely tried to avoid it then, and I couldn't imagine doing our jobs now without talking to the youngest person, you know, in the formations. Because oddly enough, we worked really hard as an Air Force to recruit them. We wanted them that their mentality, their work ethic, they're asking why all the time to make us better. And then once they get in, they're kind of told, hey, avoid those cats. And we're like, I don't know how to talk to those cats, right? We got to get past that, because that is absolutely the future. And who knows? Maybe there's a Adam Vizi down there,
You bet.
right?
You
Or a
bet.
Chachi Pachecha. I mean, they could be there. And they just need to know, how do I get there? How do I get there? So we're door kickers to the point where we open up opportunities and avenues for them to have a conversation with us and also develop their careers, right?
You know, and I've been saying it all week. It's about leadership. It's about getting the conversation right.
Yeah.
You can't get it right if you can't even have a conversation.
That's right. I mean, that's why, you know, for especially as command chief, and I'm turning 49 years old this year, you know, so but you know, I'm all over social media. Why? Because that's where our force is at. And so you need to be able to have a conversation. You know, yes, you need to be reading the National Defense Authorization Act. You need to know that because we operate with senior officers. That's what they discuss, right? You need to know the classified side of why we're postured the way we are, particularly over here in Korea. Yeah. So you can have conversations. So that's big stuff. But you also have to be able to work that slide rule down to the point to where, hey man, you know, I'm worried about, you know, what our next uniform is going to look like, you know? And does that matter? Oh, hell yeah. It matters to these young troopers, man.
You bet.
And so you got to be able to have that conversation across all generations. You got to be able to lead across generations.
Check.
Yep. So
Fair.
Can you read the question again? Seriously.
I'm going to drink something.
Just so I could cage it in my mind.
No, it was just kind of
I was just lost in Phil's eyes.
like what do you
Deep
know
blue,
now
baby.
that you wish you knew then?
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit to talk about it, but you know, for our viewers out there, we're having a conversation prior to this. Is that, you know, for it's a communication theory that somebody taught me is the shit to Snickers bar.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so a young airman walks into his office, he sees somebody shit on the carpet.
Yep.
He's like, oh my God, somebody shit on the carpet. I'm gonna go clean that up. He tells the staff sergeant, hey boss, somebody shit on the carpet. I cleaned it up.
Yep.
So the staff sergeant, not overreacting, hey, did you get it? He's gonna check it out. He's gonna tell the master sergeant, he's like, hey, carpet issue, clean it up.
Yep.
Master sergeant tells the squadron chief, hey, avoid the carpet, a little bit of an issue, not a big deal. Squadron chief tells group chief tells the command chief, and by the time it gets up to you guys, it's, hey, somebody found a Snickers bar on the carpet.
Yeah.
For all kinds of right reasons, right? Because everyone's applying their requisite level of fix at their level,
Yep.
to do that. But at the same time, if you're not having the conversation with your numbered Air Force command chief or your wing command chief, they never get their finger on the pulse of what's going on, right? So they don't. And again, for all good reasons, there's that barrier to communication because you are trying to fix it, but you just need ground truth too.
Yeah.
You need to know at some point that, hey, somebody did shit on the carpet, which is why I'm going on Osan a week. I'm like, hey, email Adam Vizi. Adam.Vizi@us.af. Right? So if you got that, email me. It's in. So I'm not sure if yours is Philip.Hudson.
It is.
Dot, 23 or whatever.
You got it.
Yeah, Philip.Hudson@us.af.mil. Timothy.Pachesa@us.af.mil. Let's get the conversation right, but let's start having the conversation.
Yeah.
And again, so for all you leaders out there, we're not asking you to circumvent the chain of command. Right? That isn't it. But I'm not a believer in a chain of communication either. Right? And this isn't,
Here.
And this isn't about trying to blindside people or an airman come talk to me so I can come back down to their group or squadron chief and say what's up.
Right.
But if you're those group or squadron chiefs and me as a command chief or we come down to you and ask questions, hey, I heard this from one of your airmen. Don't get butthurt about it. Like, we're not trying to corner you into something, but we just need information. Maybe they feel more comfortable talking to me or talking to you and not that, somewhere in the chain of command is kind of jacked. Let's just get the information. Get the information out. Let's not necessarily care how it gets there.
Can I do a rejoiner real quick before
You
he jumps in? So I'll give you a perfect example of this, and it works. So when Adam came in back there in November, obviously the change of responsibility in the Air Force is, hey, here's the phone, and I've got this phone, very hooah, right? So, but yeah, I used to give my phone number out, which is Adam's phone number now, to every ALS class because they're about to be NCOs. To every NCO PDS, senior NCO PDS, I would share it with everyone. But like, hey, just shoot me a text, and because people like to text, I like to text too, man. Just quick communication. That's how I talk to my kids, right? So, they take you up on that offer. And so Adam started getting all these texts. Hey, Chief, how's it going? He's like, oh, I'm doing great.
Who this is?
You're like, you're not texting in a Southern accent. What
is
this?
Yeah, new phone. Who this?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Oops. But that works. And along the way, Adam made new friends via that,
Yes.
which wasn't really a mistake. It was planned, right? So, and then I get my new phone out there again. But a part of it is just open communication. There is no communication chain of command. I like that. I'm gonna steal that.
Please.
I'll footnote you though. Yeah. All right. There you go, brother.
So what I would do is, if I could go back and do it all over again and communicate this to people, and it's pretty simple. is if you understand the tactical, strategic, and operational levels of communication, where you fit into that, and to understand how to communicate down and in, up and out, lateral. That's one of the things that I would challenge people to actually know what that means. Know what the tactical, operational impact is that you have on your job. Because 99% of you, that's where you're at, is to understand where that's at. And then the strategic and operational, you have to know where the team's going. Kevin Green, the sack machine, he gave us some really, really profound words. He used to be an Army tank officer, and he gave us a speech at our senior leader conference for Global Strike at my last job. And he said, you guys all need to know the vision, the leader's vision, the coach's vision. And if you're able to communicate that, no matter who it is, and we constantly say this is no 2 levels up and 1 level down. So the 2 levels up for an individual that's at the tactical level needs to understand how that contributes to operational and strategic. It's cliche, but if you're a student, which I challenge each and every one of you to be, is to never stop learning and understand your role, understand the why, and for leaders to communicate that to the folks, to tell our airmen where to find that information, to tell our folks where to look up in joint publications. I don't want to sound like I'm telling people to go and start reading these strategic operational documents, but you should, because if you're a professional airman, you need to know what our country asks of you, and what you're supposed to do for your Air Force, our Air Force.
You bet. Yep. You know, and well, kind of the last point here before we take our first break is obviously big football analogy type of guy, yep. and what I just kind of heard there is, you know, each week NFL teams adjust for the next week.
They sure do.
They adjust weekly for their next opponent. Yeah. Now everyone, because like I ask people all the time, like what is the job of an NFL team? And without fail, they say to win the Super Bowl. And I disagree. The NFL teams, right? We just need a win. And I just want to, Baker Mayfield, we love you. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for, you have revitalized a city. You've revitalized our hopes and dreams. The stuff that you did for the city of Cleveland, the fans of the Browns, absolutely phenomenal, and so much. And we're having a conversation with your boss, Colonel Betts, last night, yep, about the leadership study of Baker Mayfield throughout the year. So if you go back and you watch the post-game press conferences, the weekly press conferences, and you watch how he handles himself, so to speak, how he talks to people, how he owns wrong, how he can bring up wrong for other people, but not necessarily call them out. It's just a factual statement. It isn't one of those things. But going back to the main point is, this year, here in a day or two, the New England Patriots are going to take on the LA Rams in the Super Bowl. Both teams took wildly different paths to get to the Super Bowl. Different opponents, different struggles, different successes, different failures. All of that is a conversation to be had. And what I want to bring out is, do you think that there's one person inside those organizations who didn't know on a weekly basis what was happening? Or were they afraid to talk to Coach Belichick? Or did they have to do that in order to be successful? If they had questions, if they weren't synced up, if they didn't know the game plan, if it wasn't articulated or communicated or like everybody is in the know. An NFL team, every week they know what they have to do for that next opponent, yep, for the end state. And I think that's completely to your point, is know what's going on. And if you don't know, and if you're a young airman, if you're a junior enlisted personnel and you don't know what's going on, raise your hand, speak up. You ought to know. You need to know. With the vast mission that we have on such a global scale, with such a limited pool of manpower to do this, yep, it's vital that we end up sharing this stuff. So I really appreciate that point, Adam. And so go out there and ask. We're going to take our first break, but before we do that...
You want to do a shooter to Baker?
No, to Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns, and to hopefully an amazing 2019 season.
Here.
We'll be back with you soon on the Cape Lead Podcast.
I think what Chachi is saying is, if you're not a Browns fan, you're wrong.
Oh, and Freddie Kitchens. So we hired Freddie Kitchens as our head coach.
It's getting bad here, folks.
Two amazing things that he said when he became the head coach. So Freddie, this one's for you. He did his press conference, and he said, "My goal is to hoist the Lombardi Trophy." And then he said during the press conference, "If you don't wear orange and brown, you don't matter."
I matter.
And we'll take that to our break. Welcome back to the Cape League Podcast. Had a good time over break, a little bit of laughs.
A wee bit.
Wee bit. So we've discovered that, here we go. Yep, finish off some of the last of the blueberry before we get into pink grapefruit.
Yeah. Yummy, yummy. Adam doesn't like the blueberry.
And if you've never had soju, you're just wrong.
It's God's gift to us.
It truly is, especially the flavored stuff. If they'd had this when I was stationed here, when I was at Camp Casey as a young airman, I would probably be in prison.
But boy, we'd have fun with that.
Like,
You want some grapefruit?
Sure.
It's orange. How fitting for you two.
right? Oh, I had that orange kid.
Yeah.
That's why I chose it.
Right. So, just sitting here, getting some of this dialogue on camera, for any of you aspiring leaders out there, this right here is a perfect representation of an amazing inner circle. And if you ever read 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell, one of those laws is the law of the inner circle. And there's an age-old saying that if you hang out with 4 millionaires, you're going to be the 5th.
Ooh, I like
And
that.
Nice.
I really like that idea of you can strengthen yourself by the company you keep.
Yep.
And so, I mean, what an amazing honor. For me, I'm just a dude. I'm retiring in 4 months. I just want to be a dad. But my inner circle consists of 2 of the top senior enlisted leaders inside the United States Air Force. And it's so humbling. It's so... right? And they're just good dudes. Like this is it. So the reason, again, behind Leaders with Leaders is, from like monopolizing my inner circle.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I have I just want to humanize the positions. Again, going back to the NFL analogy, people communicate inside the respective organizations of the New England Patriots and the LA Rams. Everyone's communicating, regardless whether you're the long snapper or the punter or you're Tom Brady. Everybody knows. Everybody's talking. Everybody has an input. But getting this Leaders with Leaders, just to get people to open up, to see at the end of the day, we're just dudes.
I like to be a long snapper. Isn't that a cool name?
That's kind of a cool. So I was told that is the least glamorous position on a football team.
That's the job I want.
But you get paid through like buku bucks to do that.
Right.
And you still get the ring, right, when you win.
And you do still get the right.
Off the long snapper, baby.
So kind of to that point, regardless of your position inside your organization or inside the hierarchy, you add value.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're like you have a specific purpose, and people may talk shit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you don't have that guy, you're gonna fail, and bad things are going to happen.
Yep.
So please don't downplay anybody's position inside your organization, on your team, in your inner circle, because they are going to add value. And so I learned that lesson in Korea. One of the guys that I worked with was not great, but he was great in other areas. And I think it's important that we as leaders seek out those opportunities to make sure that we can maximize their worth.
Yeah.
And that ends up being a great conversation with our people, with our teammates. And so how about this? So we're talking about two of the senior enlisted leaders inside the United States Air Force, right? You're here, you're spending time, on a Saturday morning in the Republic of Korea, just having a good conversation. What about being a command chief do you wish that people knew?
You got something for that?
I do.
Yeah.
It's kind of reflects right back to my opening comment, is that being a command chief is a privilege. It has nothing to do with me. It's about taking care of airmen, families, and making sure that the wing commander is successful, or any commander that we work for is successful, because that's our job, is to make sure that our commanders are successful, because they give us the privilege to serve in this capacity.
You bet.
To ensure that they're successful, but more importantly is to take care of airmen. Capital A, company grade officers, senior NCOs, airmen, and develop them. Make sure that they've got the right resources, opportunities to hear people come to their installation and speak about leadership, which is why we brought you here. So that the responsibility of a command chief is very vast. I mean, I don't think you can really define it, but it's just be good to people. Be good at your job. And one of the things that I told Colonel Betts when he hired me is I told him, I was like, sir, one thing that you're going to get from me, I'm a TACP by trade, but I'm going to give you my best every day.
Yep.
I'm going to do my best with whatever the problem is. If you want me to go work with the maintainers, I'm going to do my best to figure out what it is that they need. I'm going to rely heavily on my group chiefs, because that's your inner circle. A command chief doesn't outrank the other group chiefs. We are peers. And it's a relationship that you have to,
You bet.
that you must develop. There has to be transparency between you and the group chiefs, because they're the ones who know the ins and outs of their organization and what they need you as the command chief to advocate for to the wing commander. Because I like to use your analogy, Phil, is the wing commander has two right-hand men. He has the vice and the command chief. And we get the privilege to understand and work issues for the entire wing. So that's what we do for a living. And we get to review a lot of MSMs that go to the boss. We get to review a lot of APRs, awards packages and stuff like that. But I don't mind that at all, because I get to see the awesomeness that our wing is doing.
You bet.
Yeah.
That's my philosophy on the command chief thing. So
Yeah, so everybody in life has their own blind spots. So the three of us, we're all married to different women, but we have blind spots as dudes, right? And
Yeah.
so you always need that someone that loves you for who you are, but also they love you so much they're going to make sure hey man, you're kind of skirting the issue here. You're dropping the ball over here, and it goes back to the love, right? If you love your United States Air Force, our United States Air Force, you want it to do its absolute very best. So you hear a lot of command chiefs talk about, I need to ensure that my commander has a successful command tour. It's not because you want to get them promoted, and perhaps you do.
Right.
But ultimately is that if your commander is successful, that means the unit that they're commanding is successful, right? And so a big part of that is being a good wingman. But the other part of it is that the higher in rank you go as an officer, the more task saturated you become.
oh yeah.
And it absolutely, it's just mind-boggling when you see a commander, after all the photography has happened and all the receiving line has occurred, the cake's been cut, everybody's got the blue teeth, from the blue icing, after they've done a change of command. Well, so whoever, the first sergeant or the chief, takes that guidon back to the unit, right? And there's a new commander there. What you don't see, a lot of people don't see, is when everybody shows up from the FSS, from the JAG, all those like 40 or 50 things that a commander is absolutely legally responsible for.
You bet.
It is a massive burden, but one that they take, freely. If you hear their oath of their commissioning oath, right? They take that freely with no mental obligations, so on and so forth. So, how do they do that? Well, they have to have a team, right? They have a team. So that's what chiefs are. A big part of it too is that being a command chief allows you to pretty much do what you need to do. There's not really a hard and fast calendar that you have to maintain, and it's not really you. It's the office of the command chief, right? You're just temporarily passing through this office. You've been given the privilege to serve in this office, but it's you and your exec. It's your exec and all the other chiefs on the installation. That's really what makes up the office of the command chief. You just happen to be the dude or dudette that's actually having, the ones responsible for the final output, And the flight organizations where it really kicks in then is that when you go out, you know what capacity you have to ensure things are done, to make promises and keep them, or to provide, hey, we just can't get that done, but here's what we can do for you. Yeah. The big part of this is that communications you have with the force that you have to follow through on. And the command chiefs have the opportunity to do that because the Air Force organizational structure has basically set up the command chief's office. There's no doors blocking you, right? There's a lot of doors open out there, so that clear line of communications off the peninsula, back to Hawaii, or back to the States, talking to AFPC, we all know each other, right?
Right.
And so if you've got an issue that just can't be fixed locally, that's one phone call based off relationships to get things done for the force. And that's probably the most important thing you can have as a command chief is meaningful relationships that are genuinely built in a mutual respect. And for these guys, a love for each other, right? Oh, yeah. So that's kind of my perspective on it.
I was going to close with love, so we're not getting into that now.
Yeah.
But phenomenal point. There are so many things that I've heard right here that I couldn't take notes fast enough. And Adam had mentioned it. If you're a senior enlisted leader, your job is to make your commander successful.
Yep.
Bar none.
Yep.
Period. Done. As a command chief, the thing that I kind of figured out was realistically, command chiefs have no power.
No.
We just no power. So it isn't a power play. It isn't doing anything. But I'll be damned, command chiefs wield a shit ton of influence.
Yep.
And that's amazing. And the one thing that when I got to my first wing, I had meetings with all my squadron commanders. I said, hey, I'm your command chief too.
Yep.
But the one thing I didn't say, and for Lieutenant Colonel Erica Hernandez, if you're out there listening and watching, thank you for helping me learn this lesson as a command chief. Was even though I had those meetings, the one thing I should have said to that squadron commander is, squadron commander, I need you to feel 100% empowered to use whatever weight my office has to make you more successful.
Yep.
That's what I should have said.
Yep.
And I never said it. And so we're talking about that, and the command chief and the vice should be there to take shit off of the wing commander's plate.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So commanders get decision level information only. You go to the vice to run it by them. You go to the command chief, have the conversations, meeting with them, so you can kind of you're gonna have the gauge for what your boss has,
Yep.
and they are busy enough doing all their commander stuff, right? And if you can help take stuff off the plate and put white space on your calendar, that's if you can give anybody white space on your calendar, that's probably the best gift you can give anybody in contemporary society.
Yep.
So to that end, what do you guys do for work-life balance?
Oof. I don't even call it work-life balance anymore because it's like so imbalanced. It's almost like work-life integration.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So it's absolutely a fluid scale that you operate on. I kind of talked about earlier that been married for 23 years, not sure why she's still here with me, but thank God she is. But you sacrifice normally in our profession the ones that love you the most.
Sure.
Because they're also the most forgiving of your inadequacies, right?
Absolutely.
And so I try to look at it this way, and so integration could be something as simple as, hey, I have 2 daughters, so maybe the next ALS graduation we give mom a break, and I take one of the girls, right? And so we spend time together, and if they like doing that,
Yeah.
or to the point of maybe we're doing a cultural immersion tour or something here locally. And it's something that they're interested in. So you gotta have some emotional intelligence here to know, hey, this is what my family needs in order to maintain, a love and connection with me.
You bet.
And the Air Force asks a lot of us, and this is the thing with us. We hear the term all in all the time. Particularly, the more senior officer you become, or the more senior of a chief you become. All in is your commitment. All in does not necessarily mean the family's commitment as well. Right?
That's a very interesting discussion. That's going to be a topic of a future podcast.
Yeah. So how do you integrate that? And the point you have to do is that you have to be a leader in your personal life as well as your professional life. And what leadership looks like in the personal life is eerily similar to your professional life, but perhaps more delicate, right? But the integration of that, you have to really be very creative about how you integrate your professional and personal life. And so I know there's never a balance. I have found that as a numbered Air Force Command Chief that, my personal time, I have more personal time now. Because I have a guy like this running the installation, right? And so it's his yard. And so I like living on his yard. It's good, I do know, having been him before, that it is a little bit more difficult to do when you're responsible for a combat mission set, as well as hosting an entire installation of a lot of badasses over here ready to push it up and go north, right?
Oh, yeah.
From a numbered Air Force level, the 3-star thinks about and does other things that are normally, integrating at the MINDEF level or the SecDef level or the theater level, to where, that for me is more of a thinking man's game. So I really got to spend a lot of time off duty just getting to that level to where I can be value added, so especially for a guy that's got a public school education, I really try hard to be able to be value added to the general. But the day-to-day operational level of this installation, it is a beast, absolute beast. Big privilege to serve over here in that capacity, but what does Adam do? I don't know. What does Adam do for work-life integration?
I like to work out. And again, this is going to be my annual awards speech. I'm speaking next week at our annual awards ceremony, and I'm going to talk specifically about that.
Yeah.
About work-life integration. And I'll share a little bit of my speech. You may hear this again. Depends on when you hear this. But I'm gonna reference. I heard two people use this speech. It is Major General retired Scott Vanderham and our Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Chief Wright. They talked about work-life balance, integration, whatever you call it. It's semantics. It means the same thing to me. And it's not something that you should hard fast hold to, but if you do 2, 10, 5, 7, 2 hours of fitness, focus, whatever you do, meditation, PT in the morning.
Restore your soul.
Dedicated to you, restore you, get yourself ready for 10 hours of dedicated work. Yep. Dedicate yourself 10 hours to the JOB, so you don't have to take the JOB to HOME. So when you go spend 5 hours at home, at least 5 hours, with your family. And if you don't have a family, spend 5 hours with friends or dating or going out on building relationships and getting unplugged away from the electronics so that you're having eyeball to eyeball, soul to soul communication. Right. So you're connecting with people. Yep. And I spend those 5 hours, and they're very important and sacred to me, is that's where I recharge, because I spend it with Gina. She and I, we connect. We eat food together. We talk. We laugh. We watch television, and we sit there. We punch each other in the arm, and that was funny. So, and then 7 hours of sleep, and then even though it's 24 hours, 2, 10, 5, 7, that 10 can fluctuate to 14, to 15, because it does.
It does, especially over
here. It does for Phil. It does for me, and it happens quite often. But the way that I integrate with that is I communicate, because I can forecast when it's going to be busy, and if I'm able to communicate that piece to my wife or to people that I'm going to take some time from them, if I communicate it in advance, like you said, our wives are a little bit more forgiving.
Yes.
So what I've noticed over the past, and I'm guilty of this, and it's something that I struggle with, is the communication piece to Gina. I'll communicate to everybody else, sir, I'm going to be a few minutes late to your meeting, but I will not tell Gina.
Worst to Allie.
I won't tell Gina I'm going to be 30 minutes late, and I know that you cooked me dinner, but I failed to call her and tell her, and when I come home, she's pissed, rightfully so.
You bet.
So I've been working really, really hard at the communication piece of where my balance is within those hours. So 24 hours a day, because like you said, you never know when you're going to get another minute.
You bet.
Because it's not guaranteed. So I try to communicate beforehand and say, hey, award ceremony's coming up, or I got packages to review, I've got MSMs to review, I got a whole stack of them, I got 52.
Right.
I need to spend a little bit of time on my 10, so it's going to interfere with the 5 that I've dedicated to you. So I like working out. I like to prepare myself physically, but that's what I do.
So it's funny. I talk about all this. Number one, we totally need to do another drink of soju to our families who unwittingly suffer and sacrifice, to the families who fell in love with guys and had to marry the Air Force.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, to do that. So for everyone out there who didn't specifically choose this life like we did, for everyone who has to deal with the long days and taking care of the kids and making sure that all that stuff happens, thank you for what you do. Thank you for how you sacrifice, and to our amazing families.
Yeah. To Allie, Gina, and Sue.
Here, here.
Here, here.
So I would argue you're talking about communicating.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I kind of take it a step further now. I don't think that I'm communicating, because you're communicating an expectation.
Right.
Yep.
And what I also heard here, not in so many terms, is that the 10 is going to fluctuate. So we need to communicate the fluctuation of that 10, and it is going to cut into the 5.
Yeah.
It is going to cut into the 7. It's going to cut into the 2, because that's life.
It is.
But the thing I think we're talking about is those 5 hours could be 5 hours of reps, right? So we need reps. But more importantly, we need quality reps.
Yes.
Because I think Allie would rather get one, like my kids would rather get 1 hour of quality rep with me.
Yep.
Like distinct, purposeful, in the moment, disconnected, phone down, computer away, TV off, 1 hour, purity.
Yeah.
Yep.
1 hour of pure
That's a good word.
time.
Yep.
And we focus on it like that is more vital than 5 hours.
Yeah.
And most time my family, when my 10 becomes 12 or 15, they're like, hey, I'm gonna have a long day. you know what, this weekend or tomorrow night, I'm going to make it up to you.
Yep.
How about this? Don't give your family slop, right?
There you go.
Plan time with your family. Don't get to everything at work and everything else, and then your family comes next. Right. Like make dates with your family.
Yep.
Family should not get slop time. You know, and that's what I'm hearing here. You know, like make it distinct and purposeful. You do that, but we do that for everything else. And I am the worst communicator with Allie. And she's like, you teach this shit. She's like, you tell people how to communicate, and you tell people how to communicate expectations. She's like, you are absolutely dreadful with how you communicate with me. And my answer to that is, you were spot on.
Yep. I suck.
Or sorry.
Yeah.
And she forgives you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And I just sit in the corner and suck my thumb. I like it's just it's odd
Yep.
how I can be so what I think good in communication and communicating expectations in a work pretense.
Yep.
But when it comes to my personal life,
So I'll give you that. So as my wife and I get out and about on the yard here and across the peninsula, people come up to her, it's like, oh, your husband's so awesome. She's like, yeah. I hardly ever see him. He must be, I'm glad you're spending time with him. How's he doing? Right? And you're like, dude, I'm such a jackass, right? Yeah. But you're right. I mean, we can talk about this all the time, but we struggle with this. And in some ways we suck at this, but the reason we can give advice is because we're living this, right? We know what right looks like. Although every day we don't get to what right is, I think that kind of gives us, kind of the forum to say, dude, in some ways, don't be like us, right?
Yeah.
Because trust me, we're absolutely blessed to have the families we have in our lives, but it's only through the grace of God that they're with us still.
check.
Through numerous deployments that we've all been on, and just even worse, you're not even deployed, you're home and you're on the other side of the yard.
Check.
You could be home.
Yeah.
You could go eat lunch at home with your family. Yet we dedicate it to someone else. Should be dedicated to the ones that are closest to us, the ones we love the most. But,
You bet. Were you and I in the same command chief course?
I think we
that
were.
in November of 15.
Yeah.
In San Antonio with Chief Cody?
Yep.
So
we
once you come out on the command chief list, you don't have to be hired for a command chief job. You have to go to the command chief training course.
Yep.
And so we had ours at Randolph Air Force Base, Texas, and General Welsh was there to kick it off. Chief
Yep.
Cody was there. Chief McDonald, that I mentioned earlier, was our senior mentor for
Yep.
that stuff.
That's right.
And the week ended with Jim Cody there, and his wife Athena is a retired chief as well. And they kind of put out a warning.
Oh yeah.
They said, hey, don't lose your family in all of this.
Yep.
And like he didn't. He said, hey, he's like, it cost us, their careers cost them a lot of time with their kids. And he wasn't saying he regretted it. He just wanted us to be aware of it.
Yep.
And so again, like we were talking, you can always make another dollar, but you can't make another minute. Be very judicious with how you spend your minutes, especially with the people who love you the most.
Yep.
And people say that Uncle Sam's gonna get his. And which I guess is fair to say along the way.
Yeah.
That's what we signed up for, but it isn't a bad thing. So the minute I retire, the next day, the Air Force is going to go on.
Yep.
The Air Force is going to go on. They're going to forget all about me, but not in a bad sense. I don't take that badly. Like it isn't a negative thing.
It's not. It's just reality.
Right. But eventually we're forced to hang up the uniform.
That's right.
So make sure you don't piss off the people along the way
Yep.
that have helped you wear that uniform all those years. And as soon as you're done, you have all the time in the world to spend with them, and everyone's grown and out of the house, and there's no purposeful time.
Yeah, absolutely right, man. Yeah, I mean, the folks that's sitting in the front row, you hope they're there at your retirement.
You bet.
Yeah, you don't want to have that regret. We're all going to have some regrets, but you're absolutely right. Whether your retirement ceremony is 30 minutes or an hour, everybody's going to go back to work after that. You're going to take all your little prezzies, put them in your vehicle, and you're going to ride out the gate with a dependent ID card for your spouse and a retired ID card for you. And that's it, right? And the Air Force is like, hey, we're pushing it up, moving on. Good retirement ceremony. All right, what were we doing before?
Yeah. Thanks for the blue cake.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Yeah. It's just part of the institution,
Yes.
which I think speaks awesomeness to the professionalism of the Air Force, that you can lose, capability like we're going to with Chachi here in about 4 months, but still just keep moving on. It's sad for folks closest to him, but the Air Force has to be that way.
You bet.
It
Like
has
for all
to.
kinds of good reasons.
All great reasons.
I know the Air Force is going to be perfectly fine without me.
Yep.
and then that's fine. Like it's not about my ego.
Yeah.
I'm going to affect what I can when I can.
Yep.
And then move on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So two great points that came out of this. If you weren't listening to the 2-10-5-7, I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's balanced, because to me balance is 6-6-6-6. If you're going to look at a 24-hour thing, so it's naturally imbalanced. But I think the point of balance is, again, the quality reps. But it has to start somewhere. So if you haven't heard the 2-10-5-7, I highly recommend that you at least start there. Mm-hmm. It's a good starting point, right, wrong, or indifferent.
That's all it is, and that's all I'm ever going to describe. I'm not going to say you have to do this. It's just a guidepost that you can, so that you can have the conversation.
You bet.
So you can get the conversation right.
Get the conversation.
And so that you're communicating with the people that you love.
You bet.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Phil, you were kind of talking about, we're here to make our commanders successful. We may try and get them promoted. And so it never hit me. Promotions should be a byproduct of awesomeness.
That's right.
Just be awesome. Whatever your skill, whatever your job, whatever's going on, be awesome. Your promotion should be a byproduct of recognized awesomeness.
Yep.
If you focused on doing shit just to get promoted, I think karma's going to strike you down.
Hell yeah.
Like that is going to hurt you in some way. But I think you didn't say so many words, but promotion should be a byproduct.
It should be.
Of awesomeness for you, for your boss.
Yeah.
Like, don't make people, I don't want to set up my boss to help make colonel or general. I just want to make them more awesome than they would have been without me.
That checks. Yep.
And go forward.
Let's drink to that. A little grapefruit soju.
To awesomeness.
To
To
awesomeness.
awesomeness.
Yeah.
And so we're coming up here at the end of the podcast. So give an opportunity for you each to say one last bit of advice, tips or tricks, words of wisdom to our viewers out there. What do you got for them?
Hit it, sweetheart.
All right. Again, I'll just revert back to what I said. My 3 is to give your best every day, to give our airmen, your airmen, honest, candid feedback, have fun. Those are 3 challenges that our Chief of Staff of the Air Force, General Dave Goldfein, Chief Wright, they actually wrote it down in an official document that it's that important.
Have fun.
That
It's
you have
part
fun.
of his charter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one of the things that I realized, and this is just a little somber note for me, is that your time is valuable. And unless you have a time machine, you can't go back and get a do-over. So that's why I say do your best. Give your best. If you truly are a professional in the profession of arms, you don't get a do-over. And I realized that, like when I lost my father in 2010, I lost my mother last year, those minutes are valuable. So I can't go back and communicate that stuff with my parents. So that's what my whole philosophy is about: giving your best, communicating, leaving it better than when you found it, and having fun. Because it does not suck to be in the Air Force. I'm telling you right now, it's pretty freaking awesome. We get to generate some amazing war machines. We get to work with some awesome equipment, and we get to defend our country.
Yep.
So it's a privilege. Thank you, Chachi, for allowing me to be part of this podcast. But that's some of my last parting shots, is that I am truly honored to be able to serve our nation and our country and wear the uniform. I'm proud to wear it. Just like I'm proud to wear this Browns jersey. Like I guarantee you, all of those professional football players, it's an honor and a privilege to wear that uniform. So it is for me too. I'm a professional airman, and I get to wear my uniform every day, and I'm proud to wear it.
Roger that.
Yeah, it's good. All right, so let's talk about some fun stuff here. New Orleans Saints should be in the Super Bowl this year, so we'll just say that. So for you Browns fans,
New Orleans Saints should be in the Super Bowl.
yeah, they should be. I just want to be on the record for that.
That's fair. It's
Yeah.
fair critique. Thanks, refs.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks, refs. But I'll say this: so it comes down to, and this is something that I learned, from my parents, and it just kind of just perpetuated itself. My time spending with Chachi, it comes down to love, and I absolutely love serving. You should too. There's a reason you volunteered. Nobody's been drafted since the 70s, right?
Right.
And so you volunteered to come in because you found something out there that you were falling in love with, or you loved initially. So you should love serving, and we love having you in the Air Force with us. The thing is love the one you're with, and so love your family. I too, I lost my father a year ago. It's tough, but as my mom says, they were married for 51 and a half years, best friends, right? And it was tough for me to lose someone so close. That my dad was my hero, but there's a lot of things that I look back on and like, I probably should have called more often.
Yeah.
I probably should have told him more often that I loved him. But those things are important. So that's priority one. In the Air Force too, you're going to meet people like Chachi and Adam here for me that you're going to fall in love with and you're going to just really have a connection with. Just tell them it's okay that you love them, right?
Yeah.
And we need to talk more about that in our Air Force. We don't talk about this in PME, but it really boils down to we have some really cool HUA words that talks about what this really means is really caring about each other. It's dignity and respect, which is love, right?
Yeah.
And so love what you do. And if you don't love doing this anymore, go find something else you love to do.
And it's totally okay if you join.
It's cool.
And the Air Force isn't for you.
Yeah.
Great, get out. Like do whatever you have to do. And if people always feel bad, like Chief, I think I'm gonna get out. Like, good man.
Awesome. What can I do to help you?
You raised your hand.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like thank you. You'll forever be a teammate of mine.
Absolutely.
If you want something different, something better, something more, let me help you with that endeavor.
Yep. And it's because we're part of a family now.
You bet.
And this is the ultimate fraternity in the United States Air Force. Particularly us folks wearing chevrons every day, right? Ultimate fraternity. You already went through the hazing rites. We all went through Lackland. We're here. So that's why I like the flat organization model, the servant leadership model, because perhaps the command chiefs are the first among equals, but we're all on the same playing field. And so give it your best every day. Leave it all on the field, but also know that your family, regardless of how many chevrons are stacked up on their sleeves, we're all equals here, and we're all working toward the same mission set. And so don't be afraid to show your personal feelings for each other. That's what makes a family great, and that's how you really get work-life integration is showing your true feelings. And I think if a lot of that would occur more, if you felt more comfortable doing that, and that's what really the command chief should be doing for you, is absolutely providing the forum to where you feel comfortable sharing your personal feelings inside of our awesome fraternity that we're a part of.
Roger that.
Yeah. So thanks, brother. I really appreciate it. It's been a blessing for me. I knew you're the right guy to come out here this week. And thanks for spreading your awesomeness around the Korean Peninsula.
Thank you.
And this will be first among many that we will invite you out for.
I truly appreciate that, gentlemen. I cannot tell you how lucky I am that A, I get to work with you, and B, I get to count to you amongst my friends. It is an honor and a privilege. And for all the viewers out there, we didn't say it in so many terms, but Cape Lead, caring, alignment, perspective, and expectation. You have to care first. Care about the man or woman next to you, care about the mission, care about what you have to do, care about all your challenges. You have to care first. Identify what you care about, and then you can start aligning yourself. We talked about some of this as far as communication, 2 up, 1 down.
Yeah.
Communicating expectations, but align yourself, allow for the sharing of perspectives, and then understand expectations. Expectations that you have of others, for your leaders, for your subordinates, for your teammates. Communicate those expectations, and I think we'll be better leaders for it, and we'll be better human beings.
Yeah.
So Phil, Adam, I appreciate your time on this podcast. Hopefully we get to do this again soon.
Yep.
It is great seeing you. Thank you for having me over to Osan Air Base. It has been a true pleasure. I love you guys.
Love you too, brother.
I love you. So we'll do a quick cheers with our beers. We'll go do some bowling, hang out with some of our teammates and comrades.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you back here next time on the Cape Lead Podcast, Leaders with Leaders. Chachi always reminding you to educate, anticipate, and dominate. We'll talk to you soon.